times I would say to Ryan, we got to think about the fans. And he said, no, we got to think about the story, and we got to think about our movie, which
Well, that's the thing with especially with Star Wars, but always you want to make sure if you're making it and the fans don't dig what you're doing, I don't know that I can keep doing it. Like a big part of it is that you want to connect. You want to connect with the fans when you're taking on something like Star Wars. You know, I didn't create Star Wars. You know, I grew up with Star Wars, and so you want to make sure you're servicing it in a way that's respectful to what came before, and in a way that is hopefully delights the audience and the fans.
The Mandalorian Season 2 has seen the live-action appearance of some well-known characters from the Star Wars franchise. That, of course, being Katie Sackhoff's Bo-Katan, Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano, and Tamora Morrison's Boba Fett. The response from many Star Wars fans regarding the appearance of these characters has been very positive. Some have pointed to the show's execution in bringing back these characters as a sign that Lucasfilm is beginning to right the ship from the disastrous and divisive sequel trilogy, which had disenfranchised many die-hard Star Wars fans. The recent buzz surrounding The Mandalorian is at least in part due to the fact that the live-action representations of these well-known characters both seemed very faithful to the spirit of who those characters were in the Clone Wars and Rebels series. Since it appears that both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been willing to adapt well-known characters in this show, many are speculating as to whether or not we might actually get to see an appearance from the iconic fan favorite beacon of hope from the original trilogy himself, Luke Skywalker. With The Mandalorian's timeline being set 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, Luke is very much alive and well in this universe. In fact, in the Disney canon, Han and Leia have already had their son Ben Solo, who is now about 4 years of age. What we know from the sequels is that Luke did in fact establish a Jedi Academy, so eventually if the Mandalorian series goes long enough and continues to have Din Djarin stay in pursuit of the Jedi, it stands to reason that the appearance of Luke Skywalker would be more likely as time progressed. The issue for many fans of Star Wars comes from what has already been done to the character of Luke by Disney, and Rian Johnson's famous attempt to subvert expectations with The Last Jedi. Instead of getting the beacon of hope from the original trilogy who was willing to sacrifice himself for the light he saw in Darth Vader, we got a bitter old hermit who was seeing a glimmer of darkness in his own nephew thought to murder him. I was shocked and disgusted when I saw what Rian Johnson and by extension Disney Lucasfilm had done to this beloved character. As a young girl, I remember being introduced to the Star Wars expanded universe, thrilled at the prospect of reading the continuing adventures of Luke, Han, and Leia. What I had seen from The Last Jedi was so far from anything I had read about them in those books, I just didn't understand why or how Disney could let this happen. Then, as I saw more interviews from Mark Hamill and Rian Johnson after the film's release, I began to realize that this wasn't just a director and writer who didn't understand the character of Luke Skywalker, but as was highlighted in the interview at the beginning of this video, Rian Johnson's presentation of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi was a deliberate attempt to ignore the fans altogether. But being the optimist I am, I left the door open for Disney to make it right with The Rise of Skywalker. I thought surely with a title like that, it could be possible to see Luke return, being sent back to play a significant role in defeating Palpatine. So I decided to set these as my terms. If Luke actually came back in a significant way, I decided that I would actually buy a ticket to the film. Now I realized that this was a lot to ask, and was a long shot at best. However, I felt that it was proportional and even more than fair based on the disrespect they had shown to this character and the fans in Episode 8. Needless to say, even though there were some attempts in Episode 9 to walk back some of the subversion that had been done previously in the trilogy, it was far too little and way too late. Ultimately, when I found out before the film's release that Luke had been relegated to a glorified Force Ghost cameo, I decided not to see it. By the time The Rise of Skywalker premiered, The Mandalorian Season 1 had already released most of its episodes. When compared to The Last Jedi, the show appeared to me to be a step in the right direction. It actually looked and felt like Star Wars to me. And while there were no famous characters from the Star Wars universe in the show, I was completely okay with that. In fact, I was a little relieved because the last thing that I wanted to see was the ruination of yet another beloved character. After Season 1 of The Mandalorian wrapped up, fan reaction appeared much more positive than that of The Rise of Skywalker. With Favreau's comments, which were also shown at the beginning of this video, there is a clear difference in the approach to storytelling in this universe between him and those who gave us the sequel films. His dedication to capturing the spirit of Star Wars, specifically those original films that he grew up watching, is very clear in how the show looks and feels. Though it does feel very safe at times, I think that this was a deliberate approach to avoid stirring the pot too much and to allow some time for wounds to heal from the fracturing that had taken place in the fan base as a result of the backlash from The Last Jedi. I was curious as we were moving closer to Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and rumors began to circulate regarding the possible appearance of characters like Boba Fett and Ahsoka, whether or not the showrunners would be willing to take bigger risks with the show moving forward. While the show certainly isn't covering much ground quickly, it appears that they are inching closer toward a possible appearance from Luke Skywalker, if not from The Mandalorian, then from a possible new spin-off show featuring Ahsoka Tano. As part of an interview with Vanity Fair, Dawson revealed that her turn as Ahsoka all began on the internet, after someone at Lucasfilm had seen Rosario's retweet of a fan casting of her as the character. The stars also aligned for Katie Sackhoff as another fan casting, given that she was the voice actor for Bo-Katan, as well as how comfortable she is acting in the sci-fi genre. It made her a hand-in-glove fit for the live-action version of her character. This has caused many to speculate whether or not the stars could align once again in the potential casting of Luke. It's been a couple of years since the internet first began to buzz after some noticed a remarkable resemblance between Sebastian Stan and images of a young Mark Hamill. It's even been a running gag between the two on Twitter, with Mark Hamill referring to Sebastian as his son. Given the fact that Disney had so badly butchered the appearance of Luke Skywalker in the sequels, many fans are hesitant to see Disney take another attempt at adapting the character. Since Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni seem to be attempting to buy some lost goodwill with these live-action castings and accurate portrayals of these beloved characters, I feel it's more likely that with this show, we might actually get to see Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker. Being my optimistic self, I'm very open to the idea of it, but I feel that having an actor who looks like Luke is a must if this character is going to be represented in a way that's faithful to who he was in the original trilogy. One of the biggest issues, of course, with any attempt to bring Luke Skywalker onto a Disney Plus show is that in their current Star Wars canon, we know where this all leads, and it's awful. But given this time frame, I'd say we have at least a few good years of good, hopeful Luke before the dark times arrive. A potential idea for a way around this issue would be to open up a multiverse, perhaps by using the world between worlds as was presented in Star Wars Rebels. Overall, I firmly believe that the only way to bring more disenfranchised fans on board with the idea of seeing Luke Skywalker once again in Disney Star Wars starts with the casting of Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker and ends with a careful, faithful, and respectful adaptation of who that character truly is at his core, the character that we all fell in love with in the original trilogy and continue to follow through his adventures in the EU. But let me know what you think about the potential casting of Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker. Do you think that his casting is a must, or are you okay with seeing another actor step into the role? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Star Wars and other sci-fi and fantasy content. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.